Now, within the last hour or so, we've been learning of there having been an earthquake in the far eastern province of Turkey, Van, right on the border with Iran. The epicenter, though, of this earthquake apparently is on the other side of the border in Iran, in a small village a few kilometers away from the Turkish border.
Well, the authorities here are saying that 8 people were killed and 21 injured in the 5.7 magnitude earthquake that hit the areas on the border with Iran, particularly in the province of Van. And the areas particularly affected are Güvenlik and Ospina. Now, they also say that they are concerned many people are still trapped under the rubble, and the rescue operation is underway.
South Korea has raised its COVID-19 alert level to serious, following a sharp hike in the number of new cases over the past few days. That's the highest level in the country's 4-tier system, and the first time in 11 years that the country has raised the alert to serious. During a PAM ministry meeting on Sunday, President Moon Jae-in called for a strong and unprecedented response to contain the virus. The president noted that the situation had become worse, following mass infections involving those linked to a religious group known as Shincheonji. More than 2/3 of confirmed cases are linked to the group. Moon said that health authorities are taking special steps, adding that once an extensive inspection into thousands of worshippers is complete, the country will likely see a drop in the number of new cases. The president called on the people to refrain from taking part in group events, including religious activities, saying that it's for the people's safety as the virus can spread easily under such conditions.
Iran has ordered the closure of schools, universities, and cultural centers following the deaths of 6 people from the coronavirus. The authorities have also suspended all sports events for 10 days, starting from Monday. The epicenter surfaced on Wednesday when authorities announced the first deaths, 2 elderly people in Qom. They were also the first confirmed deaths from the virus in the Middle East. Iran has 29 confirmed infections and nearly 800 suspected ones.
Well, I don't know what brought it on. I mean, you referenced the long statutory jurisdiction of the Border Patrol to deal with the border. They don't just stand at the border on the international line to enforce the security of this country. They have to have the ability to do that in some depth. And it's a sad day to see something like this, and hopefully #boycott Greyhound will pick up, and we'll see how it plays out. But we'll have some discussions with them. This was not something they talked to us about before they made their public comments. So for us, it's ultimately about how we can all work together and the effectiveness of our law enforcement efforts.
Former President Jacob Zuma has reiterated that he is not afraid to go to jail. Zuma arrived back home from Cuba, where he has been receiving medical treatment. Zuma spoke briefly at OR Tambo International Airport, where he was welcomed by throngs of his supporters. His statement comes after he was issued with a warrant of arrest following his failure to appear at the Pietermaritzburg High Court in his corruption case and at Zondo Commission earlier this month.
For 3 years, much has been said about the Dreamworld Thunder River Rapids ride disaster. But these 4 names, along with these 4 faces, are why it still matters. Is someone responsible for their deaths? Tomorrow, we find out, once and for all. What happened to them on this ride is horrific. It began much like this, then a deadly malfunction. A pump failed, causing water levels to plummet. The raft carrying Kate, Luke, Ruzi and Cindy collided with another stranded in front. As it flipped backwards, they were crushed. Witnessing that horror, Kate's 12-year-old daughter and Cindy's 10-year-old son. They were on the raft but escaped.
Hundreds of Julian Assange supporters rallied in London on Saturday. They were calling for his release and for his extradition to the United States to be stopped. Assange, the WikiLeaks founder, has been charged by US prosecutors with espionage after hundreds of thousands of confidential government documents were published. If found guilty, he could face up to 175 years in prison. Assange maintains that the documents exposed wrongdoing and protected people. Some of his more famous backers who were at the protests include Roger Waters, Vivienne Westwood and Chrissie Hynde.
They're taking a bath in a poisonous soup of decades of untreated wastewater from tanneries, battery and pharmaceutical factories and other industries on which Bangladesh's economy relies. Now the government is finally making some progress against the worst polluters, with a High Court order forcing the closure of 231 illegal tanneries. But the pollution continues. Licensed tanneries are supposed to pump their waste to this new treatment plant, but it's not yet fully equipped to operate at capacity. So every day, thousands of litres go straight into the river.